I hope so. Good evening and welcome to Observer TV News for Monday, October 25th, and our coverage of the 2010 Toronto municipal election. I'm Deeanna Charrion at our East York studios. Tonight, our teams of reporters and editors are fanning out across the key wards in East York, Scarborough, and other parts of the city to bring you up-to-the-minute coverage of who's winning and who will form the next city council and school boards of both public and private trustees. Joining me now is Dan Heyman, who's watching the action from our Toronto Observer newsroom. Dan, it's an hour until the polls close. How has voter turnout been so far today?
Well, Deanna, for starters, advanced polling is up 83% over 2006, so that alone suggests strong voter turnout. Not to mention the fact that we were supposed to have some miserable weather today, but right now we're sitting at a fairly temperate 14 degrees with partially clear skies.
Dan, what are some of the races in East York we're paying attention to tonight?
Ward 29 is one we're watching very closely, with incumbent Case Otis stepping down this year after 22 years in office. Jane Pitfield is definitely a favorite heading in, as she has some real political clout after running against David Miller in 2006 mayoral race. But her right-of-center stance will be a tough sell for many of the voters in that ward. Pitfield is up against Mary Fragidakis, whose platform is definitely more left-leaning and has been endorsed by former mayor of East York and current MPP Michael Prue. Jennifer Woods is also not to be overlooked. Her popularity could only have risen after the Toronto Star recently announced its plans to endorse her. Ward 26 is another race we'll be following closely tonight. On the surface, incumbent John Parker may appear difficult to beat, but he's up against two very formidable opponents. Former police officer John Burnside has been running a very sophisticated campaign, and he has been endorsed by former Conservative Party leader John Tory. And if Mohammed Danani were to be chosen, we would be witnessing history, as he would be the first ever Muslim member of Toronto City Council.
Thanks, Dan. Now let's bring Observer News reporter Kristofer Baker, who's been keeping an attentive eye on the election races in Scarborough. Chris, bring us up to speed on what's happening.
Good evening, Deanna, and good evening, everyone. As far as the Scarborough Council race coverage is concerned, let's start over in Ward 35. That's Scarborough Southwest. Adrian Heaps and Michelle Berardinetti are at it again. Berardinetti has gained considerable momentum following her pledge to eliminate bike lanes in the area. Heaps is the head of the city's cycling committee. He's also worked to raise awareness about crime throughout the ward. There has been a recent increase in violent crime, and he's constantly knocking on doors and asking people if they need any help. In Ward 36, Scarborough Southwest, Brian Ashton's retirement has left the race wide open, and there is no perceived frontrunner. The two candidates to watch out for are Robert Spencer and Gary Crawford. Spencer is a former environmental consultant and has been pushing a green platform in his campaign. Gary Crawford claims local needs define his platform. In Ward 37, Scarborough Centre, Michael Thompson has maintained a considerable amount of popularity for his third run at office. Fawzi Badawi and Isabel Champagne are also popular choices for the council seat. Both back mayoral candidate Rob Ford. Thompson says he's not backing anyone and will work with whoever wins the mayor's job. The Ward 38 Scarborough Centre race once again appears to belong to Glenn de Bearmaker. He's been an advocate for bike lanes and the plastic bag ban throughout his last term in office. Right-wing candidate Glenn Middle is running against him. De Bearmaker is the city's public works chief since he won the last election. Ward 39 Scarborough Agincourt is slated to be another victory for Mike Del Grande. Kevin Zhu and Cadwell Williams are perceived to pose no threat to the incumbent. Del Grande has been an outspoken Rob Ford supporter throughout the campaign. Norm Kelly, Brian Heal, and Ken Tsai battle for the seat in Ward 40, Scarborough Agincourt. Heal has gained a lot of attention supporting nutrition and the arts. Ward 41, Scarborough Rouge River, is a quiet battle between Chin Lee and Danny Chien. Both candidates pledged to work towards lower taxes, but the interesting story is Danny Chien, who opposes the Transit City program. Ward 42, Scarborough Rouge River, pits Raymond Cho against Nathan Shan. This may be an interesting race, as incumbent Cho has lost a considerable amount of support in Malvern over the last 4 years, and many residents claim they are looking for a change. Ward 43, Scarborough East, is an interesting race. Incumbent Paul Ainsley won 4 years ago with a tight margin, and this election appears to be no different. Candidates John Laforêt and Samuel Gedeshu are both widely recognized figures in the ward. Wind turbines in Lake Ontario continue to dominate the debate in the ward. Ron Moser and Deeanna Hall battle for Ward 44, Scarborough East. Deeanna Hall has proven to be a significant threat to incumbent Moser following an endorsement from John Tory. Hall is opposed to the Transit City program and the land transfer tax. Moser beat her by just 61 votes in the last election. Deanna?
Thanks, Chris. What do you think is going to be the most exciting council race in the East End?
Oh, definitely I think the most exciting race is going to be in Ward 35, Scarborough Southwest. I mean, the Heaps, Berard and Eddy conflict has been heating up ever since the last election. And although I think it has been muddied with mudslinging and a few lawsuits, I think, if anything, that has just garnered more interest in the debate. And I think that helps with voter interest. Deanna?
It's Kristofer Baker for Observer TV News. Thank you very much. Well, Dan, let's bring it back to you now. 9 of the 44 incumbents did not run for re-election. How different will council look with these new faces replacing veterans like Howard Moscow, Case Otis, Brian Ashton, and Joe Pantalone?
Not to mention that even the incumbents that are left, they're not a lock either. We mentioned Ward 29, 26 earlier, so I think we can expect to see a vastly different political landscape in Toronto by the time this night is through.
Thanks, Dan. And just before we go, can you review with us the Observer's plans for coverage in tonight's results?
Well, we have 3 reporters at each mayoral base as well, with Joe Pantalone, Rob Ford, and George Smitherman. And we'll be constantly updating the radio at observerdemand.com as well. Our reporters will be in the field calling in and telling us what the situation is like at the various places. And again, we have 13 plus reporters in the field covering every minute of this race tonight.
Thanks, Dan. Well, that's all for Observer TV News for now. For more coverage, log on to torontoobserver.ca or listen to our live radio newscasts on Centennial On Demand, and beginning when the polls close at 8 p.m. with your hosts Megan Scanlon, Carrie Prunskis, and Renisa McLeod. I'm Deeanna Charrion. Thanks for watching, and tune in at 9:30 p.m. for all of the results.